Hi there, it's Darren Chaplin, Mental Health Lead with Cornwall Rural Community Charity, and the subject I wanted to cover in today's video is routine and habits. It's very easy in the current circumstances to break from our usual habits and our usual routines, and I would like to say that we are creatures of habit and we do like our routines. Our routines put some form of structure into our day and help us by creating boundaries and lowering our expectations so that we know exactly what's expected of us at certain points of the day. Most of us have a routine. Whether we recognise it as a routine or not is another thing, but most of us have a routine. We drive the same way to work, we sit in the same place at work, we may travel on a bus, and we may go towards a certain seat in the bus even just out of habit. I know I do, and I know lots of other people who do the same things day in, day out, just out of habit. It means that we don't have to think about things. We don't have to consciously think about things because they're our routine. They're what we do. We kind of go into autopilot, and often when you're driving, you might, if you drive, you might think, how did I get to this point in my journey? But because you're on autopilot, you've kind of not really thought about the process of actually getting from A to B. So the first thing I'd like to say is try and stick to your similar routine every day. Now, with the lockdown, like I said, it's easy to break those routines and form new habits, which might not be so helpful in the months to come. So, yeah, if you can, try and stick to the same habits you had prior to lockdown, and that's with regards to the time you get up, the time that you do your work between certain periods of time. So if you are working from home, try and still stick to roughly the same office hours that you had, or the same hours that you had previously, so that you're not out of routine when it comes to return back to our former lives. Because that's going to make returning back to post-lockdown much more difficult than it needs to be. What I would say about working from home is, if you are working from home, if you're lucky enough to have a job where you've been able to work from home, still get your pay and still do your job from your kitchen table or wherever, rather than going into your office. Try to include variations in tasks throughout the day. Try not to spend all of one day staring at a screen or all of one day on a telephone. Try and block out parts of the day specifically for different tasks, and try and create variety within your workload. And that way you won't get bored, and you won't find it quite such a strain, and you'll find that time passes a lot quicker. So yeah, try and create a bit of variety during your day. Also, another important one is to schedule breaks away from your work. So ensure that you are taking time away from the screen. If you're using the computer a lot, ensure that you are taking a step away, maybe going for a walk around your garden, or for 10 minutes exercise outside, or whatever. Maybe a walk around the room, a stretch. Just not sitting down all day in that sedentary position. We've already stopped the commute to work, which we would have moved during, in theory, even if it was walking to the car and walking from the car to your place of work. You're still a lot more sedentary than you were. You're a lot more standing still. You're a lot less active. So it's important that we take those breaks and we stretch and we move and we do things during those breaks. Have clearly defined times of doing things and trying to stick to that routine in that time. Like I said in a previous video about sleep, if you can try and get to bed at the same time as you would have normally gone to bed when you were working, then that's going to help in the long run. It might not seem fun short term, but long term it's going to really help you. And try and keep up making sure that you do some non-work related activities during your downtime. During the weekends, make sure you schedule something for the weekends that's not work related, so that you've got a clear definition of your days that you're working and the days that you're not working. Because if you're at home, it will soon start to feel like every day's a non-work day, especially if you're getting up a much later time. You're wearing your pajamas all day, you're not sticking to your normal routine, and you're just sat on the sofa with your computer with the telly on in the background. It can very much soon all blur into one. And it's advisable to try not to do that. Try to have some defined times to do work and defined times to do home stuff, because actually being in your house doing your work is a lot more difficult than people give it credit for. People think it's a good DOS to just be sat at home on your sofa doing your work, whereas actually it's quite difficult to be structured and regimented and to make sure that you carve out that time specifically for the work so that you can get some quality work done. Try to keep up your relationships with the people that you normally spend time with. Now, this could be work colleagues, but it could also be outside of work time, ensuring that you're still talking to your friends that you would normally socialise with. If you'd normally go to the pub on a Friday night and see Fred, Jim and Bob, then by all means ring Fred, Jim and Bob on a Friday night. Try and make it a bit more like how it was, because these are the relationships that you may struggle to rekindle once this time is up. Nobody knows how long this time is going to last. This lockdown, they've extended it for another 3 weeks. They may extend it for another 3 weeks after that. We don't know. They have said that social distancing could continue all the way through till Christmas, and that's a mighty long time. So it's worth remembering that some of the relationships that you have previously had, you may not be able to have in person for quite a long time. So it's important that we ring people, FaceTime people. FaceTime's even better than ringing people, because you can actually see them and you can actually have a talk with them face to face. And this is true of family and friends. So if you would normally visit your elderly parents once a fortnight because they live far away, then FaceTime them every fortnight. If they need some support and advice and guidance with regards to how to use the technology and the IT, there's lots of advice and stuff out there, and a simple Google can find you somebody to put them in touch with in their area. And there's a lot of charities. I know our charity are doing support for people with IT in care homes and elderly people who are cut off from their families. So there are people out there doing these things, trying to help people and give them the support that they need so that they can set up their IT in their house and use screens and FaceTime to keep them connected with their family. And there's also innovative ways of maintaining links with friends and family. I have a friend who put an advert out on Facebook saying the first two couples to comment on this will have dinner together, virtual dinner together. So they all cooked a meal and they sat down and had a meal together using FaceTime, using something like Skype or Zoom. And they all got together and had a chat and a social chat over a meal, all had the meal at the same time, all had a drink together, whatever, and spent that time together as though they were at a pub or a restaurant or wherever, having a nice meal together and having a chat and a catch up. And it's important that we try and maintain these relationships, and it's important that we try and do these small things that don't seem like a lot, but actually ensure that we are keeping our life as much as familiar as we can. You know, that familiar feeling to our life of how it used to be, and we're not just sat there going, oh, my life isn't like it used to be. There are things that we can do to try and ensure that it is as near to how it was or how we want it to be as possible. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about routine and habits. That I think it's really important that we try and maintain routine and habits and try not to form lots of bad habits during this period, because they are going to be particularly difficult. It's easy to form a bad habit and really hard to break a bad habit. So it's worthwhile remembering that. Try and look at what your habits are, what your routine is. If you've got out of your routine, try and get back into it prior to the end of lockdown, otherwise you're going to struggle. Okay, that's all I've got to say on the subject. Like I said in previous video, any comments below, anything you'd like to see in a future video, please let me know. Reach out and communicate with me, and that's great. I hope you're all well, I hope you're all keeping well. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.